What I'm going to try and attempt to show you here is how I went about making the brake lines for the car. Now, I've made most of them up, and as you can see there's a couple there. We've got, in this instance here with the short one, which goes to the front brake caliper, we have the male side of things which goes into the four-way connector, and for that one we have, I'm not sure what the correct term is, but I call that a bubble flare, which is a half of the process for making the double flare. On the other end, which is the one that goes to the caliper flexible line, is a female, and in this case, if that'll go into focus, we have a double flare, which is a two-stage process. Now, to make these things, you need some sort of a flaring tool. Now, that particular one there is quite a cheap one. I think you can buy them for $40 or $50. Not particularly a brilliant setup, but I guess they work. I didn't actually use this one, but I'll give you a demo on it and see how the flare turns out. The first thing we need to do is cut the pipe off nice and cleanly and clean the end, and to do that we use this little pipe cutting tool. As you rotate it, you wind the cutting wheel in closer and tighter, and eventually the pipe will be cut through nice and cleanly. Now we'll do that and show you what we end up with there. Right, so that's cut off nice and neatly there. Sometimes you might just have to run a little file over the edge of that just to get rid of any sharp edges. This one's quite okay. So that's the first stage of the process. The second stage that we need to do is clamp the pipe in through the appropriate size in this bar here. Now the tube we're using is 3/16 steel tubing. That's the 3/16 clamping hole there. So we'll put that on there, and then the appropriate little tool, in this case that's the 3/16 one, we select that and move on. Now the major problem with this setup is, with this cheap setup, is we don't really know, and there's no gauge to tell us how much of the pipe that we leave sticking out of the end of that. So it's kind of a bit of guesswork there, which doesn't make the job any easier. So based on no experience whatsoever with this particular tool, I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch or so of the pipe protruding from that face of the clamping tool, and we'll give that a go and see how that works out. I'm not sure that is the correct amount, but I'll give it a go at that and see how we go. So we set the little flaring tool for the correct pipe size, 3/16, into that clamp, and proceed to wind that in until the face of the little tool meets up with the face of the clamp. So I've wound that in there now as far as it'll go. It doesn't seem to have quite got up to the face of the clamp, so I may have had a little bit too much of the tube protruding, but I'll take that off now and see what we've ended up with. So wind that off. And pull that out. And there's the result. I'll pull that out of the clamp. It doesn't look real good actually, so I'll pull that out of there and see what it looks like. Looking at that, I'd call that a complete and utter failure. That looks absolutely horrible. I just don't see how that cheap tool would give you a good job. The thing seems to have, I had it done up really tight, but it seems to have slipped through the clamp there. But anyway, I didn't look particularly like that at all, so I'll show you how to get a good result with a proper tool. This particular one here is a serious bit of kit. This is made for the professional. I imagine that this tool is very, very old. I know it came from a workshop environment, and it looks to be a really, really good, well-made professional tool. So I'll show you the results that we get with this one. Quite remarkable in comparison with the other tool. So I'll cut that bit of pipe off again and get it all set up and show you the result that you can get with a serious bit of kit. So with this tool, that's your 3/16 pipe flarer, but on the other side you've actually got a little depth gauge that tells you exactly how much tube that you need poking out of the clamp. So that takes the guesswork out of that. So I'll set that up in the clamp arrangement. I've got that into the vise, and we actually take that one out. Select the 3/16 clamping part of it. So I'll put that in there and show you what that looks like. Well, the tube goes in from this side through the clamp and protrudes just out through there. Now this part of the tool with the gauge, depth gauge, that just goes up, sits against the face, and you hold that in until it starts to move that little thing out. So we've got that set up there, and I'll tighten this up now and I'll move on. So now we turn the tool around and put it in the other way, and I don't know whether you can see in there, but the little protruding part goes up the centre of the pipe, and then we proceed to wind this one in. Don't know whether you can see that crimping up as we go along there, but you wind that in until you can't wind it any further, and you can see that crimping up. So we've got that as far as we can go. Unwind that. It's a little bit tight in there. I'll dig that out. Yeah, it's a little bit tight there. I'll have to get some vice grips, some molly grips onto that. And there, on that one, you can see pretty much a perfectly formed single flare, or what I like to call a bubble flare. Now to get the double flare, you put that back in to the clamp again. Right, we've got that set back up there in the clamp again. Now to make that a double flare, we take this pointed tool and that goes in there with the point lined up in with the hole. And we wind this one up again. Now this is for the double flare for the female end that goes to the caliper pipes. You only need the single procedure for the male, which is the majority of the fittings for the little bubble flare. So we'll wind this one in now for the double flare. We'll take that until it stops. Doing this one-handed. That seems to be about it. Wind that back out. Take that fellow out. Put it back away. Big shifter out. And undo that. And there you have your double flare. A little bit out of focus. A little bit out of focus there, but I'm doing this with the phone, so that's what it looks like. So I hope that gives you a bit of an idea how you can go about making your own pipes. On Barney's site there is a list of the lengths that each pipe needs to be, which I used and is quite accurate. I don't know whether I would be able to get much of a result with that cheaper tool, but certainly this kit here is the way to go. Okay, well, thanks for watching. Hope this has been informative to some extent, and we'll catch you all again next time.